Friday, Football Friday, October 11th, 2024. Teddy Covers here with the WagerTalk Today program. I'll be joined momentarily by my co-host, Steve Merrill, who's joining the program just a minute or two late. And, of course, we have a loaded Football Friday edition for you today. Andy Lang's going to talk right off the top. Cowboys and Lions. He's got a prop wager for us. He's also going to talk some UFC for Saturday night. My What Bettors Learn. We're going to talk about 55 days of football in a row and what we can gain from the games we're not betting on. Gianni the Greek's going to join us next. He's got some Saturday UFC. He's got some Saturday college football. We're going to break down Penn State and USC as well as UFC. My big game breakdown, Jets and the Bills. And, of course, we'll have Dave Mason from Bet Online to close out the show. He's going to give us a book report, tell us what's going on the other side of the counter, who the pros like, who do the Joes like, and, of course, we'll throw in a little bit of presidential election odds at the end. So, yeah, we're locked and loaded. We're ready to go. Football Friday. Before we get into Andy Lang, I do want to let you know about a great special we have right now at WagerTalk.com. Look, all this programming is free. All right. It costs money. We sell plays. No mistake about it. That being said, if you want to get on board, this is a great deal. It really is. You can add a month for just $3 a day. A one-day all-access pass is $39. 7-day all-access pass is $99. That's over $14 a day, approximately. 30-day all-access, $2.99, less than $10 a day. With this special offer, you can get it right now from the WagerTalk Deals page. You get an additional 30 days of all sports from the capper of your choice. So the 60-day price, just $6.63 per day. That's every play, every day, in every sport for the next 60 days, including college football, NFL, NHL, NBA, college hoops, UFC, soccer, anything else your capper releases. Just $3.98 for 60 days. A good long-term package to get on board with. We always say don't buy a play, buy a package. This is your opportunity for the capper of your choice. No promo code needed. Check it out right now at WagerTalk.com. Enough with the promo. Let's bring in our first guest, Andy Lang, and our co-host, Steve Merrill. Hey, guys. Steve, why don't you take over? I did the best I could to open the show.
You did a great job, Teddy. And it's Prez free zone, so I was doing some double checking the cellar and locking the basement door just to make sure he doesn't get back on the set here before next week. And it is Prez free for Friday and next Monday, I've been told, Teddy. So we get a doubleheader. And then, of course, Trash Talk Tuesday. Andy, welcome, my man. And we're going to talk a little UFC at the end here, but let's talk with an NFL prop because you are the prop master. And I always say if you want to diversify your portfolio, add some props and add Andy Lang to the mix. Dallas Cowboys, what are you looking at in this game?
Well, we mentioned Rico Dowdle last week. We talked about his rush attempts, and we talked about taking his over at 11.5 because we thought he was taking over the lead role in this backfield. Zeke not looking great. And what happens last week, he gets 20 carries, 87 yards. So that prediction came through. That really does look like he's taking over. So I'm going to go for his over here, 43.5 yards rushing. It's not a great matchup against the Lions. They've held some running backs under this total, but they do give up 4.4 yards per carry, which is middle of the road here. I'm just liking what I've seen from Dowdle the last 2 weeks. So the first 3 weeks, he starts off with 8, 7, and 8 carries. Against the Giants, though, in a win, he gets 11 carries for 46 yards. And then the game, bad weather, bad field conditions, he does fine. 20 carries for 87 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. So there was, I don't know if you guys saw the video of Zeke attempting to put on his shoulder pads this week. It was a real struggle, and it looks like he got a cortisone shot in his shoulder. It looks like he's dealing with some injuries here. He doesn't look great. And if the Cowboys are looking at who's giving them the best results in the backfield, it's Dowdle. I think he gets here just by sheer volume against this Lions team. They're at home. The Cowboys tend to do much better on offense when they're at home. So I think we have a few weeks here to capitalize on Rico Dowdle, looking at his rushing yards. I'm surprised that his carries are 11.5 again. So maybe look at his carries. But I just think if he can get to that 12 to 15 carry mark, Lions giving up 4.5 yards per carry, I think he gets over here.
So, I mean, Zeke Elliott was in the news this week saying he wants more carries. The Cowboys offense over the last 2 weeks really hasn't produced all that much. I know one of the games was against Pittsburgh, but obviously red zone failures in that contest. Is Dallas a team, and this is a game, of course, where Dallas is a home dog, where in theory they could be playing from behind. I'm with you conceptually that this is absolutely a running back worth targeting right now. I'm just wondering if the mitigating circumstances here are enough to concern you. You talked about the fact that the Lions' run defense is decent, not spectacular, but decent. It's an okay matchup for Dallas. But from a game planning perspective, if Dallas is coming from behind, does he get there? Does this correlate with a Dallas bet?
I like the over in this game. I think both teams are going to be able to move the ball. We saw the Lions offense explode against Seattle. Of course, all offenses are exploding against Seattle with how many injuries they have. I think this is a close game. The spread is only, 3 points? And Dallas at home is just a little bit of a different animal. I think their running game is starting to turn the corner. I mean, they were by far the worst in the league going into last week. And listen, Zeke may want more carries, but Zeke has averaged 2.7, 2.0, 3.8, and 2.8 yards per carry in the last 4 weeks. So, I mean, and of course, what's Zeke supposed to say? Like, whoa, easy on the carries, guys. Have you seen how old I am? Have you seen my wear and tear? Of course, he's going to say he wants more carries. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to actually, just kind of live it out. So I would say that Zeke's doing fine with what he's saying, but the proof's in the pudding here. Dowdle has been the most productive running back on the ground. I think it's a close game. I think this comes down to a late, maybe late field goal, late score, late in the game. So I don't see Dallas getting blown out in this one. I think they stick with the run.
You're muted.
Muted, Steve. Don't make me talk about how I went 4-0 in darts this week. Still muted.
No,
He's still muted. So I went 4-0 in darts this week. The World Grand Prix Series. Easy way to diversify your portfolios. Just follows our darts plays. The World Championship is coming up in December. Jump on board darts plays. We're the #1 darts handicapper at WagerTalk. Oh, he's still muted. Last year we turned.
There's some connection issues with Steve Merrill. We'll just move on to the next game while he figures it out. Or really, the next fight. Let's talk some UFC for Saturday night, looking at the free WagerTalk live odds screen. Daniel Rodriguez versus Alex Morono. And what do we got here? This is Saturday night in Vegas. And I'm right now looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, free live odds screen. Minus 210 for Rodriguez. 2.5 juice to the over for the total. What do you want to do it with Rodriguez and Moreno on Saturday?
So I like Daniel Rodriguez to win. It's a lot of juice. So let's take him to win by decision at a really nice plus 150 price here. You've got two fighters here, Teddy, that are on the backside of their career. Alex Morono, though, is, this guy looks really, really done. He's really struggling with cardio in his last couple of fights. His last fight, Teddy, against Nico Price, he comes out in the first round, he holds his own, and then just gets absolutely nuked in the second and the third round. He made it the distance, but the only reason why he made it the distance was his opponent gassed almost as bad as he did. Before that, he beats Court McGee, who's on this last leg of his career. Before that, he loses to Joaquin Buckley. And Alex Morono has some other things working outside of the ring. He's working with another promotion, Fury FC. So he's keeping his name out there just to kind of work on transitioning to the next phase of his career. He's okay with grappling, but he just doesn't have the cardio to keep it going for all 3 rounds. And when you look at his opponent, Daniel Rodriguez, who's actually 3 years older than Alex Morono, Daniel Rodriguez just has more left in the tank here. And what I love about this is Daniel Rodriguez is coming off of 3 losses, but it's to Neil Magny, Ian Gary, and Kevin Gastelum. These are guys that are way better than Alex Morono. And Kevin Gastelum actually missed weight by a ton in the last fight. Daniel Rodriguez did not back out of the fight. He had every right to. He could have. Instead, he fought. He lost the decision, and UFC rewarded him with a 4-fight contract. So he's 37 years old. He's winning these fights by decision. His last fight against Jing Liang went to a split decision. His previous fight before that, Kevin Lee, went to decision. He's 37. He doesn't have that knockout power. I don't think he's going to be able to submit Morono. I think both these guys are kind of tired once it gets out of the first round. So I think it's a little bit of a sloppy fight. But Daniel Rodriguez just has way better cardio at this point than Alex Morono. So we're going to take Daniel Rodriguez to win by decision in what could be a little bit ugly and a little bit sloppy and boring in round 3. But I like D-Rod by decision.
So I want to ask you this, because we're talking about a guy who we're laying 210, 220 as a favorite in a fight that's lined like it's going to go over, like it's going to go to the cards, and you can get plus 150 on the same guy to win by decision. Why? Like, to me, that sounds like it's why is that by decision line where it is? Shouldn't that be a little bit juicier as opposed to the big plus price? Is that normal where you see a guy laying 220 and then plus 150 on decision when it's juiced to the over?
I don't know. I'm with you, Teddy. That's why I put this play. That's why I put this play in. I was like, I'm getting plus 150 on this guy to win by decision. He's 11-1 to win by submission. Daniel Rodriguez is probably not submitting Morono, and he doesn't have knockout power anymore, Daniel Rodriguez. So I don't see where the finish comes from at all from these guys. So I'm with you that the number doesn't make sense. That's why it made my free play for today. The plus 150 seems like where it's at, and they are now. There's now evidence that these new gloves that they've put on UFC fighters, and we've known this for a while. The finish rate has gone down. These new gloves are preventing knockouts. It's harder to flash knockout these guys unless you're a guy like Alex Pereira, with insane power. The finish rate has gone way down since we got these new gloves. So when you're looking at handicapping UFC, taking overs, taking fights to go the distance, taking fighters to win by decision has been a profitable way to approach the sport the last few months. So we'll just keep doing it in this fight.
But I want to ask you a re-follow on this question, Andy, because you're much more familiar with what the numbers look like in this sport than I do. You look at them every day. I look at them only when I talk to you, or with someone that does UFC or Kyle Anthony. But is this like what would be a more typical spread here between a minus 220 to win and then a plus 150 to win by decision? Is that what's more normal than that? What's a typical differentiation between those two?
Before I looked at this line, I was guessing minus 120, minus 110. To get it from minus 220 to plus 150 is pretty insane. And just to look at the other side, the books are just telling you that Morono is not going to win. 10-1 by KO for Morono, 12-1 by submission, and he's 3-1 by decision. So the books are really telling you that a Morono finish or a victory is very much not really expected. So I just think this number is really, really off. I'll be honest, if I looked at this and I saw it like minus 130, I don't think I make this play to talk about on the show. But at plus 150, we're betting the number here for sure.
Andy Lang, the prop master, and I don't know, I think my mic broke when I went down the rabbit hole of the Dowdle prop, because what I was saying was undrafted free agent from South Carolina in 2020. He started one game out of his first 36 NFL appearances. He started 4 of the 5 this year. So there's definitely been a sea change in that Dallas backfield. And Andy is on top of that. And also the new gloves. I was unaware that I don't follow UFC that closely. That's a very important handicapping factor. And it's something I think you should continue to ride in the near future. Andy, you mentioned darts. I don't know if you have women's lacrosse still available. What else you got going on at WagerTalk.com?
Riding with a 5% UFC play for UFC Fight Night on Saturday. That play comes with all of our UFC plays. And then our college football play of the week. We started last year doing one college football play per week. We're 18-5 since we started that. We're 4-1 this season. So our one play a week is uploaded. That's all we need to turn a profit in college football. Really, really happy with the results. We're on a 22-10 MMA run. 3-day pass will get you the 5% play along with all of our NFL plays, along with college football. Nice 2-0 sweep in NFL last weekend. So 7-1 all sports since Monday. So we're looking really, really good going into the weekend. WT.buzz/AL over at WagerTalk.com.
I love it. Andy Lang diversifying even further with college football. 18-5. Damn, son. That's the way to do it. And I love the selectivity approach. Teddy, you and I are very selective as well, maybe 1 to 3 plays a day on average. And doesn't mean you can't win a lot of units still, and our records speak for themselves. Speaking of football, Teddy, little Tuesday and Wednesday Conference USA action this past week. I actually did standalone solo videos on both of those games. So it's another reason to hit subscribe and click that bell here for instant alerts for all the free play videos throughout the week. I'm going to continue to do these weeknight games because often I don't use them for my clients. So I want to give them out for free here on videos. And we cashed both the Tuesday and Wednesday college game, the Thursday night NFL game last night. This is a great time of the year, Teddy, covers for football. We're on a nice little run here for multiple weeks, if not months, I guess, of consecutive football, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you, Steve. I like football on TV on Tuesday night and Wednesday night. And we already had football on TV Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So the new Conference USA contract has them playing Tuesdays and Wednesdays on ESPN and CBS Sports. And that's all it takes to get 55 days of football in a row from last week till when? I think it's November 26th, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, before we have a day off of football. And it's not like I'm betting all of these games. But even when I'm not betting them, I'm paying attention. Haven't made a bet all week in college football. I got a little action on Northwestern tonight as a free play, and then we're in action tomorrow. But you better believe I had Jacksonville, New Mexico State on one of the screens on Wednesday, and last night I had all three of them on. Sunbelt action, CUSA action, MACtion. The smaller conferences, when you watch, you win because you pick up nuggets you can use for next week and beyond. Last night, something I picked up I'm happy to share with you, making it actionable for what bettors learned. Coastal Carolina got their asses whooped last night. I don't think they're a bad team. They played a very bad game. They get the Raging Cajuns at home next Saturday. Might well be a Chanticleer spot. Something worth noting from today's What Bettors Learned. There you have it, Steve. Back to you, my friend.
Yeah, I was actually intrigued by the Madison game last night because obviously I'm in Virginia. JMU is a team that was in William & Mary's conference for decades. In fact, William & Mary played at Coastal Carolina last month. I followed that game, and Coastal's got a lot of transfers coming in, but they still have a pretty good offense. So I was a little surprised as well that they only put up 7 last night. That's one of the free play videos I'd missed this week. I had the over in that game. I thought there'd be a lot more scoring on the free play video that I gave out. But yeah, you're right, Teddy. These weekday games, Ross had a great point the other day when Prez and I were on with him. He said he handicaps these weeknight games. First of all, he says, if this was a full card Saturday or Sunday, would I use the play? And I think that's a great starting point for new bettors out there when deciding, how to approach these weeknight games. There's nothing wrong with playing them as maybe a 1% to 2%, lean or opinion, but be true to yourself. Would it make your card on a full Saturday or Sunday? I think that's a great way to look at it. But these weeknight games, you can dig a little deeper because there's so much public money coming in. The Sunbelt games on Saturday get a lot of sharp action and maybe not much else. There's more balance on these weeknight games. So I do find myself using them a little bit more than I would maybe on a regular Saturday or Sunday in college and pro football. Speaking about sharp money and sharp action, let's bring on Ace, Gianni the Greek, and we're going to talk a little college football here at the end, Johnny. But first, let's talk some UFC because Andy just talked about one of the fight nights, and you've got another match on the fight night card that you're looking at as well.
Yes, sir. And please forgive me. A play just came in now. It's Ireland Premier League Soccer. We're taking Derry City minus 165. I just released as a 3% play to subscribers. We'll bet that up to 180. We're comfortable taking up to 180. They're playing the Bohemians. So Derry City money line, three-way line, minus 165. Good to minus 180. Over Bohemian. That's a 3% play. Now let's talk some UFC because I've been on absolute fire. Clay Carpenter, free money. I started betting him at minus 150. One of the guys that I respect the most that I actually helped get down, who's an originator, came in on it. The way I do it is I handicap the card prior to when I know they're going to start firing. So days before the weekend begins, like next weekend. So I already have who I like. And if they come in and land on that same side, I know to unload. If they come in opposite, I have to make decisions. If they're on a play that I have no opinion on, again, I usually bet it and piggyback it because of their long-term history. With that said, Clayton Carpenter landed on that spot where I absolutely love this kid. And then one of the sharpest groups that I work with came in on him and laid it as well. That's why it's now at about minus 200. This kid should be close to a 3-1 favorite. I came on here last week and said the same thing about another fighter. Should be a 3-1 favorite. And I got some pushback on that. Well, I ended up being correct. Not saying, it's small sample, one fight, but this is another situation like that where you have a fighter in Rochas who's got an amazing record at 17-1. But if you dig a little deeper, here's what you're going to find. The first 8 wins that he had only faced one opponent with a winning record. In his Contender Series fight, which is the reason he is in this fight now, he was getting destroyed. If you look at the box score, he got outlanded by over 20-plus significant shots. He was controlled for almost an entire round, but his opponent landed a big knee and got the knockout and then got the contract. And that's why he's now fighting. Carpenter's just so much the better fighter. He's going to have the reach advantage. He's much more well-rounded, comes from a better gym, MMA lab, and he's the new breed of fighters where they're so well-rounded. They're not specialists in any one martial art. Instead, they have the whole tool belt, from grappling to jiu-jitsu to striking to kickboxing to Muay Thai. That's this kid. It's the new breed of fighters, and they just continue to improve each time out. Should be a 3-1 favorite. Where the price lays now, I'm very comfortable releasing it. Clay Carpenter.
Anything else you like in UFC this week? Let's stick with UFC before we move on to college football.
Still working on the card, Teddy. It's one of those cards that's a tough card. You have a lot of fights that are around that 2-1 range, anywhere from -180 to -220. Historically, those favorites have been the worst in ROI. And it kind of makes sense because it's the small favorite that probably shouldn't be that big of a favorite. Bettors are comfortable laying it, not just using them in moneyline parlays. That's why. But most of those fights usually should be closer to a coin flip. That's why if you look over the last 5 years, over the last 10 years, over the last 20 years, you will find that favorite range between that -150, -250 is for sure the worst ROI. We have a handful of fights that are right around that ballpark. I'm trying to narrow it down to which of these dogs are actually live. Which one's going to jump out and get the win? Is it going to be Frem over Al Hassan? Is it going to be Vergara? Is it going to be Sabatini? There's a handful of guys that will be able to get the win. And where we are right now, favorites way ahead in the UFC. In fact, I just did the math yesterday. That's why I want to share it real quick. Here's where we stand going into this weekend when you're talking UFC. Through 34 events, favorites have covered 69% of the fights. That's much higher than they have historically. Dogs are at 30%. Usually dogs are about 34%. In fact, only 2 main sports where the dogs perform better, and that's Major League Baseball and NHL. Anywhere else, the dogs perform better in than NFL, than college football, than NBA, than college basketball. So you shouldn't be afraid to bet dogs, and this is one of those cards. So it's a long way around of going. I haven't narrowed down more positions, but I'm looking at those handful of dogs that I touched on and trying to see if I'm actually going to pull the trigger on them. It's a tough card. It's a very tough card.
Love it. Talking some USC with Gianni the Greek. You'll be on this weekend as well, I believe, right? Saturday college football, Sunday NFL, last call here at 11 a.m. Eastern. Yeah, so Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, Sunday, 12 noon Eastern for the NFL. So be sure to check that out live. And also we'll take the games you want to look at. Live viewer questions with Kelly Stewart hosting. College football game I want to ask you about, Ace, is Penn State USC. I talked about this one the other day here on the show. USC was +5. And then yesterday evening, around 6:30 Eastern on Thursday, it went from 5 to 4. It's now settled at 3.5. What's going on with this game? Very curious to get your take.
Yeah, usually I would avoid looking at the Penn State side because first I would respect the line move, number one. It hasn't gotten down to that key number yet, but it has gone through 4. So it matters a little bit, especially on a primetime game earlier in the week. Historically, I would stay away from this game or actually be on the USC side because you're looking at an unranked team that I do think is top 15 as far as power rating wise. But my power ratings, number one, show that Penn State's probably a little more than a touchdown better on a neutral field than USC. USC has a strong home field advantage this year, obviously, because they're 2-0 at home, 0-2 on the road. Again, it's a small sample size, but if you're 5-0 on the road, 5-0 at home, you don't really have a strong home field advantage unless the point differential is huge because you play just as well on the road as you do at home. But if you haven't won a single road game and you're undefeated at home, then you have a strong home field advantage. So I think if it's not just injuries, If the sharp money's coming in, I think you're getting a little of that home field advantage. I just think Penn State's just so much better. You look at USC, I think they're a little phony. They're 1-2 in conference. They only have a point differential of about 7. You look at Penn State in that same conference where they're undefeated. They have a point differential of over 30 points. You look at their season point differential, they're at 115. So they're just crushing teams. But what I like is this. They're underperforming against the betting market. If Penn State was covering all these games, then I would expect them to regress towards the mean, that the market's extremely efficient. But they're not a sexy team. Penn State's not one of the sexy teams of college football. Like, they have to be undefeated and getting a lot of hype for anyone to even care about Penn State, unfortunately. I come from Pennsylvania, and even back then, I was a Miami fan. I was a Hurricane fan back when Penn State even had good teams. But so I think that's why you're able to get such a good team, quality team, ranked team, and they're not a touchdown favorite against a 3-2 USC that I think is a lot more mediocre than them. Again, I have them ranked top 20, but they're not at the Penn State level. And obviously this year, that what I've seen with just point differential alone keeps me away from them. So I like Penn State. I think they're undervalued here. I'm not afraid of the sharp money taking the 5 points. I like Penn State side. Hopefully I could get a 3. I haven't released this to subscribers yet or anything like that, but it is the side I'm looking at.
Gianni the Greek, we've got just a few minutes left with you, my friend, and I want to make sure that we cover as much as we possibly can in the next few minutes. So I know you like Penn State minus the points at USC. What else are you looking at in college football?
Here's what I'm going to do. I love you guys. I'm just going to fire a couple premium plays that I gave subscribers. That way it's easy. That's way you know it's confirmed and it's sharp. I gave Nevada plus the 4 points as a 4% play. I gave a couple first half unders. Here you go. We're going to have a full card Saturday, so it's okay. Nobody's going to get pissed that already bought this. Trust me. We got Purdue, Illinois, under 26 first half. Stanford, Notre Dame, under 24 first half. And like I said, Nevada. So I got 3 premium plays so far, and I usually have close to 10 by the time Saturday comes. Here's a couple steam moves that I did get down for some of the groups. 121, Miami, Ohio, Eastern Michigan, over 45. Kentucky, minus the 11 and under 46. But at 14, you did get some Vandy money. You got some Vandy money. Georgia, minus 32.5 and minus 33. Georgia actually is going to be a team that the books are going to need. I'm seeing so many public accounts on the dog. A little bit surprising there. Now I'm going to give you 3 sides that have gotten no resistance at all. Ohio, minus 1.5, minus 2, minus 2.5. At 3, there was no Central Michigan buyback, and it's almost automatic. One of the groups I work with, if they lay anything less than 2 and a 3 pops up, they're going to take the 3 for some of their risk. They're always going to attempt to do that. Now, in the NFL, it's always 100%. College football, not 100%. But when they're not buying back around those key numbers, it's a huge telling sign. Another situation where we've seen no buyback, BYU, minus 3.5, minus 4.5, no resistance even at 5. And then New Mexico, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6. And here's what's more important. I think 2 days ago, they were doing anything they could not to go to that 7, adding the juice, the VIG at 6.5. The sharp shops did the 6.5, minus 115, minus 120. Keep your eyes on how those lines move and whether it appears there's any resistance. If it's not, more times than not, that means there's still positive EV there. But they got enough down, and they're just not going to continue to lay. But if a book's not going to adjust their number, either they have so much risk the other way from public money, so you definitely want to be on the right, the sharper side, or they're taking that position. And finally, there was one more. The total. Last game of the night, the bailout. Boise State, Hawaii, under 61, under 60.5, under 60, under 59 they came back. I didn't think they were going to do that, but they took under 59 as well. So low-scoring game expected, Boise, Hawaii. That's pretty much it for college football, and still a little early in the NFL. I gave something on bet on it, so you can check that out, but I'll be on Last Call Sunday for that late information. Don't forget, Wong yourself. 5-0 Wong teasers last week. They went into last week 12-6 for the season. They're now what? 17-6 over 70. Damn, they're going to be close to 80% after this weekend. So don't forget the Wong. Free money, plus EV all day.
Yeah, and you'll be talking more about that Sunday on Last Call. You and I spoke about that a few weeks ago. We had a nice conversation about teasers.
I got to jump in, Steve, because I have very different numbers on the teasers. All the favorites, all the big favorites, when you've been teasing them down, have been getting crushed, I thought.
Here's what I tease. I'll tell you, this is what I do, Teddy. I always say I don't do week one.
Stop, Gianni. You just gave some numbers about what Wong teasers are doing, and my numbers are like not even
That's
close
what I'm telling
to
you.
yours.
So hear me out. Let me tell you why I got my numbers.
Okay.
Here's how I do it. I avoid week one. I do nothing with week one. And then I don't tease until Sunday. The only time I ever put this week, one time I sent a teaser out before Sunday. Any other time I tease on game day. I want the most efficient line possible to tease. I'm not trying to get out ahead of any line movements because that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to predict outcomes. I'm not trying to do anything. All I want is for the line to be as efficient as possible, and then for me to tease through 3, 4, and 7. That's all I'm looking to do. So I'm looking to bet against the closing line because that's the sharpest. I want the game to land near that number. So that's what I base it on. I'm not doing any of those early ones that were -8 and then they go off at -7. That's not a teaser for me. A teaser for me is Sunday. Just like I tell those guys in the steam room, these are what we're teasing. 5 of them last week, they went 5-0. The week before that, every single one of them are documented in that room, and I'm sure it's on YouTube. Nothing sent out early, always versus the close. So I think you're absolutely right. If you do them all, I don't know if it's still profitable. I don't have the data for that, but I would probably guess not. But I found a way, I probably shouldn't even put it out there, that it's worked for me by going against the close, Teddy. It's really done well because it just makes sense. It's the most efficient line. And if you're betting a teaser, you're hoping the game lands close to the number. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense. I love that you leave out week one because I always say week one is basically week 4A of the preseason. We don't tease in the preseason for that reason because the lines aren't as sharp and accurate. So it's good information. Johnny the Greek, once again, 11 a.m. Eastern tomorrow on Saturday, college football last call, then noon Eastern Sunday to talk some more NFL teasers with Ace, and check him out on WagerTalk.com as well. Teddy, let's get to a big game breakdown, and then we got Dave Mason from Bet Online, some inside the book, actionable info from him coming up, one of my favorite segments of the week.
Absolutely. Big game breakdown. Look, the Bills-Jets Monday Night Football is must-see TV. It really is. Right now, looking at the WagerTalk free live odds screen, Buffalo -2.5 total, 41 for this ball game. Last year on this field, Monday Night Football, Aaron Rodgers lasted 4 plays before he suffered a season-ending injury. The Jets still ended up winning and covering in overtime on a walk-off punt return. But, of course, that was then. This is now. We've got Buffalo coming off back-to-back losses. They had that 3-0 start. Then they got hammered in Baltimore and then had an awful first half in Houston last week. They rallied back to tie and then kind of gave the game away at the end with poor clock management. Sean McDermott took the blame in his post-game comments. So we say, look, Buffalo spot, right? They started 3-0. They're off 2 losses. They were competitive last week. Not so fast. Josh Allen had concussion issues last week. He's got ankle issues too. Allen and his wide receivers. You want to talk zero chemistry? That was the worst game of Josh Allen's career last week. He completed 9 of 30 passes, and the misses, they were out of sync all game. Buffalo has injuries everywhere. Just look at the offensive skill position talents. Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, James Cook, just to name 3 questionable on offense who matter. On defense, Ed Oliver, Teron Johnson, Von Miller suspended. He had 3 sacks in 4 games. And that 3-0 start for Buffalo, well, they had a win, no cover against a sub-500 Arizona team. They beat the 1-4 Jags, and they beat the 2-3 Dolphins in a game where Tua got hurt. In retrospect, it's not all that impressive. Before I talk about the Jets, let me talk about this. I always say don't buy a play, buy a package. Let me talk about it all week. I'm going to talk about it one more time. Because coupon code Teddy365 will expire Monday after Monday Night Football. And you can get 1 year, every play, every day, nothing more to buy, no bait and switch, no nonsense. See what I can do for your bankroll. Again, $99 a month for a full year, all access, nothing more to buy. Use promo code Teddy365. If you want to get on board with one of my packages, this is the package to get on board with. The Jets have been making headlines all week. Obviously they're emotionally worked up. They have something to prove with the head coach being fired, with the offensive coordinator being demoted. Todd Downing's now the play caller. And for game one, that's advantage Jets. The Jets have film on what the Bills are going to try to do. The Bills, not so much on his Jets playbook. The Jets are the better of these two defenses, period. And the Jets would be 3-2 in first place with Robert Saleh as their head coach if Zerline hadn't missed a game-winning field goal against Denver 2 weeks ago. They're not that far away. Call me a sucker, but I got to take the points. The Jets ain't that bad, and the Bills ain't that good. Give me New York on Monday night. And there's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merrill.
Yeah, and Teddy has seen it well, by the way. Going back to last Sunday, Teddy's on an 8-1 all-sports best bet run. And Teddy, I noticed your loss was the Steelers. You mentioned that Bills loss. Well, my two losses from a 6-0 sweep last weekend were Bills-Steelers on the final play of each NFL game. Otherwise, I go 6-0. And my two William & Mary classmates did not do me well on Sunday. I might have to talk to them about that. Tomlin and McDermott, as you mentioned, McDermott with the Bills and Tomlin, of course, with the Steelers. But yeah, once again, Teddy is hot as we head into the weekend. Dave Mason, let's bring him on from Bet Online. One of my favorite segments each week and some great inside information. You know, we always talk about the term inside info. It is a vastly overused term in this industry, but you really are getting some inside info here from the other side of the counter. Dave, welcome. What do you want to start off with? I do want to ask you about the politics if we have time, but let's get to what people really want to talk about. NFL, I guess. Where have you seen some sharp money this week?
Hey, how you guys doing? Yeah, politics are as big as NFL. It seems like these days. It's gonna be a wild month, but yeah, NFL, some sharp stuff. Jaguar, not a ton of sharp stuff yet actually. Jaguars under 45. Last night the over was sharp. Tennessee minus 1.5. New England +7. Dallas +3.5. A little bit there. Cincinnati under 48. Arizona under 47 or more.
That's a little bit NFL sharp action from Dave. What about the Joes? I mean, again, I don't mind betting against the Joes in the NFL every now and again. What game's on all the parlay cards this week? Where's your real liabilities when it comes to the public?
Well, bet count, I mean, we're talking Joe. I usually look at bet count, not volume, because volume can be skewed between, a few bets here or there. But from a bet count, Washington's they've turned into a very public team recently. 69% of the early bettors are on the Commanders, getting 6.5 versus Baltimore. Tampa, laying 3.5, 67% of the bettors are on Tampa. Pittsburgh, I think that's more of a fade, Las Vegas kind of thing going on there. 74% of the early bettors are on Pittsburgh. And Detroit, they're the highest bet count this weekend so far, and I expect that to be the same come Sunday. 69% of the early bettors are on the Lions, laying 3 at Dallas.
We're talking with Dave Mason, Bet Online AG. He's an outstanding follow on Twitter, and he's someone we enjoy to talk with every week. He's at Dave Mason, BOL, on Twitter. An excellent follow. Dave, I want to follow up about what you said about the Washington Commanders. My theory is that the public has a better chance to win in October than any other month because the public realizes, hey, this team isn't what they were supposed to be. This team's way better than they were. This team's way worse than they were. Where the wise guys are still kind of wedded to preseason expectations a little bit. In general, I love to bet against public underdogs like Washington. But have you noticed this for October where sometimes the public actually has a better read than the pros do?
I don't know. I'm just going from memory, my own opinion. I'm not really sure there, Teddy. I mean, every season is so different. Sometimes we start cold and the public starts hot, and then things level out. I mean, this year September was incredible for us. I'm not going to lie. It was probably one of the best NFL starts I've ever seen. Definitely the best NFL start I've ever seen. Not going to sugarcoat it. Last night it came back. We got beat up last night, but it's hard to predict it. I can't say yes or no there. I have no opinion at all. Just going back on memory that it goes up and down. So I really don't know.
Yeah, and I, of course, do a Fade the Public video each week with WagerTalk TV, and I have noticed in general, the Fade the Public stuff works better in November and December, but it's been pretty good so far this season, and the Commanders are definitely a public underdog this week from all the numbers I look at, which is always ding, ding, red flag alert for all the viewers out there. Dave, let's transition over to college football. We have 3 games tonight. The South Florida game, of course, was canceled from tonight's card. Maryland Northwestern, UNLV, Utah State, Utah, Arizona State. The Cam Rising drama continues whether he plays or not. That line has dropped a little bit, I've noticed, from 6.5 to 5.5 in that Utah game. Anything jump out to you tonight as far as action?
The Utah Arizona State's getting the most action overall. It looks like Utah's the public side. About 59% of total cash is on Utah. We did take some sharp on that, I believe. Yeah, we took a two-way sharp. Arizona State +7, Utah -4. Northwestern's getting 2-1 money versus Maryland. Of course, they're getting 11. UNLV, Utah State. That's getting peanut action, and most of the money's on UNLV, but not a lot of volume yet. So nothing I can really conclude right there yet.
What about Saturday, Dave? Anything jump out to you on the card Saturday? Obviously, 2 huge games. I mean, the biggest game of the year, maybe Ohio State, Oregon. Also, we have some other top 25 matchups as well, Texas, Oklahoma.
Yeah, great schedule, man. That one, Ohio State, Oregon, that's just going to see massive volume. It's already getting bet a ton. It's the highest bet game on the card so far. 63% of early bettors are on Ohio State. We did take some sharp on Oregon at +4 and +3.5, I believe. LSU, Ole Miss, that's getting bet a lot. 64% of bettors are on LSU. Red River rivalry, 57% of the early bettors are on Oklahoma. Getting 14 versus Texas. Lots of other lopsided games. 79% on Pitt, 87% on Mizzou. Clemson's getting 78% of tickets. Some sharp stuff. We have Vandy +13, NC State +5, UMass +28.5. Florida +15, Kent State +6.5, UCF -3, Florida Atlantic +6.5, Rice +5, Illinois got a lot of volume from sharp bettors -21 or better, and USC +5 as well.
The Illini and the Trojans when it comes to Big Ten action. At least that's what BetOnline has seen the sharp money flow. Dave, got just a few minutes left with you, and we got to talk politics real quick. You've been tweeting there's been an odd shift this week in the presidential election. Where's the money going, and who's betting it?
Man, I mean, we've needed Trump for a while, but I've been saying that's short-lived. That Trump money's going to come sooner or later. And this week it really started because it's been trickling the last few weeks, but this week it's really starting to pile in. I mean, we just took a bet this morning, $23,000 bet on Trump at -130. So he's at -130. This time last week, I think it was a pick'em. That now it's -130 Trump. Kamala is +110. So we've actually got it now to where it's just about a win-win on both sides. Again, we were exposed on Harris, and it doesn't. Like I said, that Trump train money's starting to come in. So, I think we're going to need Harris a month from now.
And Dave, I just want to ask you on the close here. When you talk about a big bet coming in on Trump, is this somebody that's also betting sports? I mean, how much crossover from the sharp political action do you see with like sharp sports betting as well?
Yeah, we haven't seen too much sharp political action yet. I mean, this is just because it's a big bet doesn't mean it's a guy labeled sharp.
Gotcha.
But that doesn't mean it's not a sharp bet either, right? You know what I mean? I mean, public people are spot on some things. Even I get a bet right once in a while. But nobody that's really profiled as sharp has really bet too much on the election yet. Some little nibbles here and there, but nothing significant. But there is a lot of crossover. I mean, right now there's a lot of crossover. As we get close to the election, more people will just be signing up just to bet that election. It takes so much volume, almost like the Super Bowl, right? The Super Bowl gets, you have all your diehard football bettors that are there all darn season betting it. But then, week of Super Bowl, you just get all these new accounts of people who just want to bet that big game, and then they disappear forever, or maybe you get them back next football season. So that's kind of how the election is too. Right now it's mostly people who are loyal bet online bettors. But, the last 2-3 weeks, there'll be a lot of accounts that are just coming in to get down on the election, then get out, win or lose.
Love it. Great inside information on not only sports betting, but political betting as well from Dave Mason, betonline.ag. And, of course, can follow Dave on Twitter at Dave Mason, BOL. Dave, thank you as always. We will talk to you again next Friday here on Wager Talk Today. Always appreciate the time. And that is our time. We are done for the week. Teddy and I will be back on Monday. Don't you worry. It is a Prez free zone again on Monday, so you are safe to watch and win with us. Don't forget to click subscribe and click that bell for instant alerts when the shows go live and all those free play videos we talked about. And also thumbs up, like is greatly appreciated. Comment below. We read the comments and we reply back. I've got a strong advanced college football best bet for Saturday on my page right now. You can get it as part of that buy 1 month, get a second month for just $99. It's a great offer through this weekend at WagerTalk.com. Teddy, enjoyed it. I'll talk to you again on Monday. Have a great weekend and take us home.
Sure. That's going to wrap it for the Friday edition of Wager Talk Today. Like Steve said, we'll do it again on Monday. But, of course, Wager Talk last call Saturday and Sunday before kickoffs. So much great programming here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel and the Wager Talk Media Network. By all means, like, follow, comment. We appreciate it all. We'll talk to you all on Monday.